Hello and welcome to Bandy, podcast about being flexible and all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your environmental ecological hosts. Joining me as always is our other environmental and ecological host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack?
You know, I'm totally environmental and ecological.
Are they
I
the same
bought,
thing?
no,
No,
right?
I don't think so.
I
Like,
mean, no,
there's
there's many definitions for environment, right?
it's straight. There's commonality there, but they're not the same thing. Okay.
Um, I I know I'm a lot of talk,
Hmm.
but I actually went out and I bought crow bird seed and I'm feeding the crows in the yard now.
Amazing.
I
How
want, yeah.
close?
You know, they're feral.
Sure.
And I also have a bird, my own bird, who's
Straight.
adorable and like wants to like live in my shirt. So it's like they're very far, the spectrum is wide for birds. But I
Yeah.
think that like once they figure it out, I want to murder, I want to be a crone.
Hmm.
And once they figure out that like I'm their person, if I can keep the dog from like eating all the food and barking at them every time they come by. And this isn't even I'm all the crack, but I also am now feeding a turkey that's been hanging out behind our fence at
Okay.
like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just kind of shows up and like stands there looking startled. And I'm like, okay. So I started like dropping a little bird seed back there too. So I'm just, you know me, I'm feeding things.
Yeah, because I think I told to see one whenever we were there, a
Hmm.
wild turkey,
Yeah,
but I don't think I did. So yeah, I'll need you to send me a photo of this wild
I
turkey, and
will.
I'm
Yeah,
curious to see what it looks like.
yeah. I think it's a female.
Okay,
You know, they're little dowdy looking, but real
sure.
sweet and very scared of everything. So,
I love it.
Uh, also, I got off my braces,
Hmm.
which was supposed to be a 6 month endeavor, and I know I complained to you about. And it took a year, but I have teeth that it's weird because like the bottom I had metal
Hmm.
brackets and the top I had ceramic, so you could
Hmm.
like not see them as much, except you drink a cup of coffee and then it dyes them a different color, right?
Hmm.
Or at least the rubber bands. But they had to actually like crack the ceramic off the tooth. I was
Ooh.
like, it wasn't like popping it off. It was like, no, we actually have to like crunch it and like dissolve it. So, like shit's gonna go everywhere. And I was like, oh, this is fun.
Did it feel weird? I'm sure it probably did.
Yeah. Yeah, there were, and like you're supposed to bite down on this thing and like, yeah, stuff was going everywhere. But I will say I definitely lost some gum line
Okay.
and I definitely have to wear a retainer for the next 6 months all the time. And I don't know if I would do it over again, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the payout versus the kind of
Cost
upkeep.
benefit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Fair
Or
enough.
reward. Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
Okay. Good to know. I mean, yeah, like incredibly lucky that I've never had braces. My sister, we've talked about this before. My sister
yeah, you're
did.
like one of, yes,
But my
makes me
teeth
so
aren't
mad.
great. I mean,
Your
like
teeth
they're
are fabulous,
thanks. They're doing
especially
okay.
for being, of the heritage that you are.
True. And
I guess
being
it's British
ancient
teeth. Well,
as
no,
well.
is your dad British?
No, my mom is.
Your mom is. That's right.
Well,
And
English, yeah. Well,
English.
kind of, but like I mean, it's all a
I
mixed
know.
match. I think
I know.
like their family originally came from here, but like also,
Hmm.
what is Northern Ireland, and
Yes,
things will
right.
unravel quickly if I really try to pick this apart here. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Mike never had braces either. So,
Yeah, nice.
which he reminds me about, his superior genetics all the time, just
Wow,
like you.
incredible.
I know. How are you? What's a crack?
Not too bad. Since we last spoke, a lot of time kind of planning my Canada trip
Yeah.
over the past few weeks. That has me keeping me quite busy. Um, like in terms of, trying to figure out camper vans and get those all booked and all.
So
How
I guess like, yeah, what kind of trip, like, what kind of, are you camping? Are you hiking? Are you
we
staying at
are
Airbnbs?
No, we are getting a camper van essentially.
Okay.
Like it's a kind of a converted like Dodge something or other, but it's quite a big sort of vehicle that like has a bed in the back
Yeah.
essentially, and we can sleep in the van itself. Because we looked at a few different options, and there was like those things where you can get like a Jeep and it has a tent box and on top of it and things like that. And they all sounded nice, but I'm also kind of aware that there are shitloads of bears up there.
Yep.
And I'm like, do I want to be in a tent if there's bears everywhere? So I think I'm happier sleeping in a car. Um, like, not just bears, a variety of other stuff. But like what's interesting to me is that a lot of we booked some accommodation in Calgary as well, and the person who we booked the accommodation with was like, "Oh, before you go on your trip, if you want to come and see us, we can give you some bear mace
Yeah.
for your travels." And I'm like, "Oh, and
Yeah.
like, there's bear
Yeah.
mace is everybody's telling us we need to have bear mace." And I'm like, "Oh shit,
Has
okay."
anyone talked to you about do you have bear bells?
I have heard of them, but
You
yeah,
should
nobody's
get,
had us.
yeah. I mean, it's like it just lets them know you're coming and they don't want to be, unless, it's
No,
cocaine bear, they don't want to,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and you have cocaine on you, they don't,
yeah.
they
Cocaine
want to
Bear
run away.
just wants his fix, and that's
Right.
understandable. Like he loves
Yeah, yeah.
cocaine.
I know.
Uh, I'm not gonna judge him for
The
that.
the things you can't make up.
Exactly. But yes, no, and I've heard of the bells and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we'll at least have some bear mace or some sort of supplies in there. But if not,
Yeah.
we'll pick up some stuff. We'll pop
Also,
into a Target or something.
if they're talking about bear mace, then you probably also want to, and like if you're campsites, usually the campsites will have bear boxes for trash
Hmm.
because that's where they get you is
Yeah,
if you keep trash in like your van or they smell it and then they try and rip into it. So
yeah. So yeah, we're gonna be careful but like
I
my
know you just like lobbing garbage everywhere all the time.
absolutely doesn't give a
Mhm.
shit. But like,
Mhm.
my girlfriend did make the point that she was like, I don't want to miss a bear. Are you gonna miss a bear? And I'm like, hell no, if there's a bear coming at me, I'm just gonna drop the bear mace and lie down and just let whatever happens gonna happen, really,
Yeah,
So
yep, yep.
it's gonna
So
be
you
interesting.
you put your hand, I don't know why I know this. We had bears in Oregon. So you put your hands behind your neck and then you curl up in a ball and you protect your vital organs. It depends on the bear. There's a certain it depends on the bear, I think, too.
Yes, I've heard
Like
this.
a grizzly, like you're fucked basically.
Yeah.
Um, brown bears, black bears, some of them you're like you want to just kind of yeah, curl up in a ball and pretend to be dead.
Okay.
So fun.
Can't
Not
wait.
bad for the heart at all.
It's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting. So yeah, so
So
looking forward
can
to
I
it.
just ask about like is it a European thing to just like go somewhere and get a camper van and like drive around?
Good question. I mean, I hmm. Like it's not something that I have done a ton of, but when we were thinking about what this might look like, this made a ton of sense to us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
it was like this should be a fun way to and gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of explore because like if we go and we go to Airbnbs or whatever,
Then
we're
you're locked
reliant on
in.
public transport, we're
Yep.
reliant on, et cetera, et cetera. So we thought this would give us a lot of flexibility in terms of where we want to hike, where we want to visit, and things like that. So yeah,
Hmm.
it definitely does happen. I know there's a lot of people in this country, especially over lockdown, who actually bought vans, either, pre-existing camper vans or vans with the idea of converting them into like campers and stuff.
Hmm.
So I think it is a thing that happens, but it's started to become more of a thing in recent years. What about, is it, is that something that people in the US do?
No.
It's
No, we
interesting.
go, it's like you get a trailer that's outfitted with like
Oh
we
yeah,
even
yeah,
had
yeah.
we had a shitty hunting trailer that was, I don't know, maybe 19 feet. And it had a bed, like a full bed, a full kitchen, a bathroom.
Wow.
To have a shower. I think there might have been a shower. And it was like a tiny, I think we bought it for like $900 and it spent 6 months renovating it. But no, it's like that's the idea of, I mean, it's like it's such an anomaly that people create YouTube channels
Yeah.
where they're like, I'm in a camper van and it's got a bed, but that's it. And I'm going around the United States and like look at my vlog kind of thing.
Yes. And I think it's one of those things that like like even like being a digital nomad and stuff like that, that the
Hmm.
reality
Hmm.
of it versus the the reality of it versus the idea of it is are two very different things. And like,
Right.
you know, see doing this for a week, cool. And we're going to be setting a
Yeah.
few campsites here and there. We're going to end up parking at the side of a road. We have like some decent ideas for that. There's like an app called Park for Night that basically people find
Nice.
parking lots that they can recommend and they're good.
Walmart. Sorry.
Exactly, exactly. That nobody, no police are going to come around and tell you to like move on, you know.
Right.
So we just have things like that saved, and we're just gonna, we're just gonna figure it out. But yeah,
Good. It's
so excited
exciting.
for it. I really am looking forward to it. The other thing that I did,
Are you making playlists?
I mean, like I've got so many playlists. So I think I've told you before, my playlist is essentially just a big like mosh pit of all the songs
Yes,
that I like
I've heard
because
it.
if I don't, you have heard it. If I don't, if I like make specific things, I just don't listen to them. So
Uh-huh.
like my playlist is about, 48 hours of
Yeah.
music, that I
Yep.
just will like put on random and be like, oh,
Yep.
nice. Oh,
That's
cool.
I still have the original iPod. I don't know if you remember seeing it,
Yeah,
like the from
I
like
remember them.
2007 or 6 or whatever. Yeah. And that's what I do. Like, especially when Mike's gone and it's like quiet and the kids are at school and I'm like, I just want to not feel alone.
Yeah.
I put it on random and then I'm like, wow, there's a lot of heavy metal on here.
Hell yeah, that's what I like to hear. We were talking about me as a kid recently, and somebody was like, "Oh, so you're just like baggy jeans and an Offspring t-shirt?" I'm like, so close. Basically, it's
Yes.
baggy jeans and a corn t-shirt, and you're bang on. Um, but yeah. Um, so the other thing that I did, I think you'll find interesting, is I finally did some reformer Pilates at the weekend.
Oh, what'd you
Have
think?
you done it before?
I have twice now.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's crunchy, it's tough.
Yeah.
Like we did a beginner's class and I was like, I am smart enough to not be entirely cocksure about this stuff and, like going in like and I because I done it before where I've been like, oh, I do yoga,
Yep.
this is gonna be no problems to
Yep.
me. And then like I get decimated. So like I kind of was aware that because it was gonna be different, I would still find it difficult. But like I knew a lot of the movements were similar. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll be able to like step it up a wee bit. Like I'll maybe be able to increase the resistance as I go. Hell no. Even like the add-ons, I was like, I'm not doing any of these add-ons. This is rough as hell.
Yeah.
The
I it's hard.
I think it's like the precision of the movements and like how targeted they are versus, yoga or whatever. I mean, like I think a lot of yoga postures do target certain parts, but these seem to like laser focus on various parts of your legs or your like
Yes.
core and things like
Yes.
that. It's woof. So
And then
yeah,
it's like not it's about not giving you a break either. So they're
yeah.
like, okay, we're gonna switch position. You do, but then you're still working on the same muscle
Yeah.
group, and you're like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I
But
just want
yeah,
to lay here with my like feet up. And did you wear the weird socks?
yes.
Okay. I have a pair. Yeah. So I did like the candlelight Pilates class on accident.
Yeah. And that was a
And
former one, was it?
that was on a reformer.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a lot of like laying on the floor and like rolling on a roller and like just
Hmm.
like kind of ironing out the fascia. But half of it was on the reformer. And I was like, it was dark too. And it was like all candlelight. So I was like, I can't see anything. And like, what am I supposed to be doing? And like, what are the handles?
It's an
So
interesting combination, like reformer and candlelight. Now I think about it because like it's such an
yeah.
athletic, like yoga. I can understand a little, a lot more
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. And it was super confusing because like the room next to it was candlelight yoga. And I was just sure that that's where I was going because
Yeah.
this made no sense, right?
No. Amazing. So funny.
Okay. Are
But
you going
yeah.
to do it again?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it again because I'm a friggin' masochist and
Mhm.
I am. I mean, I absolutely am. And also just I think it like connects so well with yoga, I think. And so like I definitely want to keep at it. But like I'm
Yeah.
glad this is the thing. Top tip for anybody who's ever considering this, get your grippy socks ahead of time because if you turn up in the
Yes.
night, they're gonna charge you a lot of money for a pair of their own grippy socks. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I guess like I also didn't know that there's a whole history about Pilates and
Yeah.
I didn't consider how, who invented it or why, but I think it was for like circus performers.
I think so. It was some sort of like European guy, I think called like Joseph. I think it's because his name's
Yeah.
Pilates, and he brought it over to
Yeah.
like help. It was performers and things like that. Yeah, help them like
Which I was
condition the
excited
body.
about. I was
Yeah,
like, that's interesting.
it
That's a
is.
fun fact.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Can
So
you? So yeah, good luck with your trapeze work.
thanks. I mean, like one of my goals this year is to learn how to handstand properly.
Oh, it's so hard.
I know. Like, I
It's
think I
so
could do it
hard.
against the wall. In fact, I can't.
I can do,
I know
yeah.
I can do it against the wall, but like, I would like to. Like, I think I have the core strength to do it now, but
Hmm.
I just feel like I need to practice it. So yeah.
Yeah, I used to be able to do uh I was almost there. I was almost there. And then I got one
Mm.
of those like it's those weird chair things that you put your head
Yeah.
inside and like I had that, but then yeah, I just ended up not focusing on hanging upside down.
I
Yeah.
I was offered an opportunity to use one of those at a festival, and I was sober, but I was just like, no, I'm not. This is not the time or place for me to do this,
I feel like I'm
But
wearing a utility kilt.
yeah, I'm ready to tell exactly. And I do have shorts on, of course. It's I am very, very scared about exposing myself. But yeah, um, love it. So, do you have any more what's crack, or do you have? So we move on to what's occurring.
No, I have a one. No, I'm good on crack and I have one occurring.
All right, hit me.
So we talked a few weeks ago about my vision of all the board games falling on you, and that would be
Mhm.
the
I
end
was
of
like, what?
Andy,
I
right?
was like,
So,
what a way to
whoops,
go! What a way to go!
right? Someone said if Andy's bookshelf full of games falls on him and it kills him, could we say he died of terminal boredom?
Ugh. All right, fine.
I like it. I like
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
it.
I mean, like that works for
It like
me. Yeah,
tickles the dad joke
it does. It does. You love
itch
that
that we
joke.
have every
Yeah, it's true.
episode.
Fair. I mean,
How
like,
about you?
let's just keep willing it. It'll happen
I
eventually.
know.
Will
I
just
know.
friggin' miss me. It'll trap me in here or something like that. It'll die of starvation
Mm-hmm.
instead.
Mm-hmm.
All right, love it. It's good. So, we move on to our topic for the week. I,
Yes.
Beth, I have named it the naturalists
Mm.
as opposed to the naturists, which
Hmm.
are two very different things. But what are your thoughts on that?
Um, you know, my mom is a certified naturalist and like took a bunch of classes and learned things about nature.
Uh,
Uh, I don't know if I feel qualified.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. So,
What about Ramblin?
Ramblin, that's the one.
Or walkabout? I don't
No,
know.
Ramblin's good with
Okay.
with no G.
Right,
Yeah, yeah,
Ramblin.
perfect. All right, perfect. Yeah, because we just want to talk about like we have, the kind of parks that we visited, the
Hmm.
hikes that we've been on, like nature that we have kind of like seen that has kind of touched us in various ways. Because like it is something that I think that is has like resonance for both of us, I think, like nature especially, in all ways. So we thought it'd be fun just to have a chat about that.
Yeah, I have a definition which I actually disagree with.
Okay.
So it says a hike is a long, vigorous walk, usually on trails or footpaths in the countryside. Apparently was developed in Europe during the 18th century, which I was like, uh,
It's just
how can you,
redefining going on a
how
walk.
basically, right? But I don't think it encompasses enough.
Yeah.
And one thing in particular that I love to do is urban hiking.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that I don't, and partially because, we're humans and we have now taken over so much land that like New Yorkers, unless you go to Central Park, the odds of seeing a plant or a bird that isn't a pigeon are pretty slim.
It's true.
So I think that, and I do consider like the 15 or 20,000 steps that I walk in a city, checking it out, like that's hiking and it's
I
cool.
I think that's very fair. And like I think, the exploration side of things is absolutely something that needs to be taken into account. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And I feel like I also, certainly something that I used to really enjoy. I have like a memory whenever I was in North Carolina of like because this would have been not entirely pre mobile phone days, but certainly pre having a map in your mobile phone and like
Yep.
just and I used to just like walking in directions and go, well, it's basically north of here, so if I just follow this path, I'll probably get there.
Hmm.
And it did not work
So
out
you,
for me at all.
I was gonna say, do you have a sense of direction?
I do. I think that
That's
like
good.
by and large, I'm pretty good at that, and I'm pretty good if somebody's like, you're in charge of directions, you're in charge of like, figuring out how we get there, how we get back, etc., etc. I'm pretty good at that. I'm crap with like street names and things like that, but I'm
Mhm.
good at like just no, like it's more like somebody says to me, something's in this street. I'll be like, and if they're like, it's across from like that garage, the garage that has like the picture of the bear and the bear's wearing the hat, and I'm like, oh yeah, the hat bear. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that stays with me rather than
Right.
street names.
Landmarks. Yeah,
Yes.
I have no sense of direction.
Oh really? Oh yeah, I think
So
we
I
talked about
kind
this.
of,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I have to route myself like, okay, where's the ocean? Okay, so
Yes.
that's west. So then, but like staring in a, I think, yeah, I've told you this. Every direction I look is north because that's how my brain operates.
Nice. I love it.
It's terrible. It's terrible. So like, but I will say, and I guess like I want to go back to like who introduced you to hiking?
I feel like it was something that I was really resistant to. I remember like going on hikes with my dad. There is I mean like not there's no mountains, I don't think technically in Northern Ireland, but we have some like pretty big hills kind of.
Yeah, I would say so.
And there's like one that we went to. I remember my dad taking me there probably in my early 20s, but like I really didn't have a lot of desire to do that really, or really kind of drive to do it until then. And then like it was only really when I started, whenever I had a dog essentially, and I was like, I was getting outdoors more, and I was like, oh, there's something to this. This is really kind of good for me, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's meaningful. So that then, like, whenever people suggested things or people suggested taking trips and going places, it was like, oh, that could be, whereas, that could be fun. Whereas I think before I would have moved being like, I don't want to. I don't want to walk all day,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. So it was like you deciding for you that
yeah,
it gave you all the things that come from being in nature and
I
being a
think so.
naturalist.
Being a naturalist, exactly. I think that it was more like, I think, like I always enjoyed walking. So it's probably not a big stretch, but like I would have more normally just walked like in, a city or a town or whatever. But I would have, like, I wouldn't have been like expecting like rides places, I would just been like, yeah, I'll just walk to a place.
Hmm.
Um, So I think it was like a natural step, but I think it was like the idea of actually traveling somewhere to walk. I was kind of like, I can just walk. I can just
It's
walk
like
around these
people
streets,
that I have that feeling, right, when I see people that are like driving their bike somewhere.
Yes, yes.
And I'm like, which like I get, right? Not everyone lives in a place that is bike friendly,
True.
but it seems a little redundant in a funny way.
So true.
Yeah. So I was kind of like born hiking,
Love it.
which like my parents, I remember like, I was born in the mountains of Appalachia and they had this like wicker basket that they would put me in. And we were like, we lived in the woods. So, and my dad was doing research on the other side of the mountain. So he would and there was no road. So he would hike across. And it wasn't like, I mean, it was hilly. So it was like, that's just, and there wasn't a lot to do, right? It was a tiny 500 person town. So we just
Yeah.
hiked in the woods a lot, and discovered moonshine stills.
Hmm.
But, but then we moved to Oregon, and I remember, it was like elementary school, middle school. We didn't have a lot of money, but like every weekend, my parents were like, let's explore, let's go hiking. And I'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah,
All they want to do is play
hiking.
Super Mario
Yeah.
Brothers, right? So it wasn't, and it was like, in retrospect, I feel like a brat because of it. but all I could wait, I was just like, okay, let's just like get to the point where I can sit down and eat lunch at the viewpoint and then walk back to the car. But
I
I saw
think
some really cool things.
but I think that's a very common experience as a kid. Like you don't
Mhm.
want to friggin' hike, really. You know what I mean?
I have a
Especially like,
child who is a hiker.
oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Because
the
Charlie,
youngest one.
yeah,
Yeah,
so Charlie likes hiking
loves it. Like
and
he could just go and go and go. He could walk
oh,
forever.
it's
I
good.
know. But
That's
he's also
like,
8. He's got energy.
oh, this is true.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, he'll learn the aches and pains of getting older.
I know.
But I do love that. And I love that sort of connection to it. Like, and I think that there are definitely some kids who probably respond to that probably better. I think that like also we grew up in a time where like, pulls for our attention or pulls that for things that entertained us where there was so much of it and there's that which is
Yeah.
still the case now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like
That's true.
I think that you know, certainly something when we were younger, that wouldn't have been considered would have been the mental health benefits of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Whereas it really
Yep.
is now, and people are, and it's like, it's provably, it provably makes a difference for those things. Um,
So, spending quality time in the outdoors reduces stress, calms anxiety, and can lead to lower risk of depression, according to a study done by researchers at Stanford University. Um, I've heard, and I worked in the naturopathic community, and I would say 50% of the time your doctor would be like, and I'm prescribing you to go for a walk, like get outside,
yeah,
go be in nature as part of your treatment plan. Um, I think um on the one hand, how lovely, and on the other hand, that's terrifying that so
yeah,
few people are spending time out in nature. And again, proximity to nature is a difficult thing, assuming you have
true.
transportation. Um, but you know, I think that it really does do more than just like make your bones stronger and your muscles stronger.
Yeah. I think absolutely it does. And like, and I do get it, and I have been in hikes, bigger hikes where I have had to deal with. We have, I'm sure you have equivalent things. We once like did a bit of hiking and camping trip, and we ended up like setting up tents close to a body of water,
Mhm.
and the air was filled with
Bugs.
flies. We
Yes.
co- and it was an absolute nightmare because the
You're
plan
just
was
like, I can't sit in the tent all day.
yeah, this is the thing. Like, as soon as it went sundown, all these flies appeared, and we were like supposed to cook that evening and like just hang out. And it was like, nope, we're like doing our best to heat up food, kind of, then throwing ourselves in our tent and I guess going to sleep at like 7:30.
Right.
It's like,
You're like, it's
oh,
dark. Nothing is
hooray.
to do. Um, so if you had to watch a movie about a good hike, what would it be?
Oh, jeez, you mean like something? I kind of want to watch. What's the Reese Witherspoon one?
Oh, yeah, Wild?
Well, I think it's just called Wild, isn't it? Yeah, I kind of want to
Yeah.
see it. I've heard it's fantastic. But I don't know that I have like the ones that I think of are is it 72 hours? The one where like
Oh, 128,
120 hours or whatever it is,
127.
127. All right, I'll get in on
It's with
that.
J James Franco, where he
Yeah,
like cuts off. Okay, so it's based on a true story. This
yeah,
guy's like, he told no
127 hours.
one that he's hiking in this place, and he's like, crazy like boulder climber, and ends up falling and getting his arm stuck.
Hmm.
127 hours, right? Arm stuck,
That's
and
right.
he cuts it off in order to escape.
Yeah. It's
And
that.
he
So
did
that's
escape and got out.
that's the
And yeah.
one that
And now
immediately
he's a
comes to mind.
motivational speaker.
Is he? Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And I suppose he's earned it at that stage. Like he literally cut his arm off with a penknife, which is just
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, like
Uh-huh.
fair play to him. Like I think that'll be another case where he's.
Did you see the movie?
Yes, I did love the movie. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
it's the only it's the only hiking movie I can think of that I've seen, but that might not be the case.
Okay. I'm gonna blow your mind.
Go for it.
Okay. Crocodile Dundee.
Oh yeah, okay, that's a
Yeah.
good
I
point.
know. I know.
They definitely do go hiking there. Yeah, like that.
I
But
watched the beginning of it last night. I once he gets to New York, I'm not interested
no,
anymore, but just like the the music, the soundtrack, like just them and
Oh,
walking, and it's so good.
the key piece of music from that's absolutely fantastic. Like, it
Yeah.
really is. Yeah, that's a good one. There's probably other ones that if I actually really thought hard about it that that probably do fit that. But yeah, I say yeah, I really see the wild, but like I think 127 hours is the immediate one that springs to mind. Even
Hmm.
like the thing that I really remember from that film is him being trapped there and him thinking about the Gatorade that's in his car. That's just and it like cuts to the
Yeah.
Gatorade and it's like like the moisture is just running down the side
Yeah.
of it. And I'm like,
It's
I.
sweating.
I've done that, but like I haven't had my arm pinned. I've still been like, oh, there's a drink in the car. I really want it right now. Then I'm just like, slightly
It's like,
dehydrated.
I know, I was like slightly different circumstances.
I'm like, oh God, no, save me, please.
You're a little tiny bit parched.
I need my Gatorade.
Okay, so what's something that you've learned about yourself while hiking somewhere?
Um, I think probably like, what I found really interesting was in my fitness journey, what a difference it made to me. I remember one year, I don't think we did it when you were here. We went to one of the places that's overlooking Belfast Lough when you were here. But
Hmm.
there is another walk you can do up a place called Cave Hill. And I remember doing that walk and like going up um the kind of one of the ascents basically. It's not super steep, it's not crazy by any stretch of the imagination. I've done way harder since then, but like walking up that and being like so, really struggling, like sweating loads, really struggling to breathe. And then I did it a year later, and I kind of got to the stage where I had been really struggling, and I was like, my breathing's a bit more labored, but I'm doing pretty good here. Like it's
Interesting.
really not hitting me at all. And I was like, oh, okay, this is such a clear indication to me of how the benefits of either, of being in shape and, you know, not just for hikes, but probably generally just for my health. So it was like a real, if evidence were needed, such a clear example of how much I needed that in my life and how good it was for me.
Hmm. That's good. I think I this is the difference between you and I. I immediately was like, okay, what darkness did I learn? And it was like I've had experiences like thinking back where I think, and maybe it's because I'm a woman, not to make it like a
Hmm.
safety thing, but I think it's a little bit different. Um, being a woman and like
It is
hiking alone, like safety is a thing.
absolutely.
And I think, hiking always makes me, I guess, a little bit hyper aware of like, okay, where am I? Who are these
Yeah.
people? So I think I have to kind of separate myself and like what I'm experiencing, but also like have this little part of me that's hyper vigilant and hyper aware
Hmm.
of my surroundings. And
Yeah, I
that makes
think
me, I think it makes me sad.
no, yeah, truly, and it is very sad, and I think that like, it's it's something that I think it's also like that also occurred to me. I think, and we talked about this in like one of our traveling episodes, is that like I have like had female friends and I've been like, oh, you need to go to this place, you need to go to this place, and they're like, yeah, I don't know that,
Can't,
and I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, and it really sucks, and I like. It's easy as, especially as a friggin' white man in particular, to take for granted how the doors that kind of opens for
right,
you, and how
right.
much how much easier it makes things. Like it really fucking sucks. It really sucks.
It's like man or bear, man or bear.
Yes, this is the thing. The whole man bear to me and recently, like, and everybody's like a bear. Because the thing is, like, I'd heard like a guy talking about hiking recently, and it's one of the reasons I thought about this, and he was like, "That is the last thing you want to do, even as a man, even when you're with people, if you're out on a hike, especially in the wilderness, if you come across a human, like if you come across a bear, you're like, well." The bear's supposed to be here. This is its house. This is its
Yep.
area. Like, if you come across a human, you're like, why the fuck are they out here? Are they just
Yeah.
hiking? Are they up to no good? And
Yeah.
it's like there's nobody else around. It's far more sketchy.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
more sketchy. But yeah, um, I What so one of the things I was thinking of was like, do you have like a sort of like particular hike or like a weird, not weird memory, but like a specific memory from any of your hikes that really kind of springs to mind?
I do.
Hmm.
I think, well, I have quite a few. I think one that I really like, this is simple, but there's this place in Oregon. It's called Cascade Head. I think it's on, I don't know if it's the Snake. I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah,
Someone's going to correct me.
sure.
It's on the Oregon coast, and it's a Native American. There's like, I don't know if it's protected. So part of it you can't actually go, but like it's so fucking gorgeous.
Hmm.
You go to the top of it and you're so high up that the bald eagles are like flying below you. And like the entire hike is like you go up and then you come down, which you've done with me before, and
Yeah.
imagine how happy I am. But like it's just so beautiful, and like you've I think I took you to Cape Perpetua.
Yep.
We did a hike up there when you visited in Oregon, and like it's just
Beautiful.
astounding and gorgeous.
It
Yeah. And then
is.
I have another one, but I had some girlfriends in college. And we were like, oh, we're going to go hike Mary's Peak, which is in this little town south of Portland. And we were like, we're going to camp overnight. And so we brought like a tent and weed, and it was super, super windy. And like, we're all like in the tent, like hotboxing it, super fucking high. And
Love it.
then these people come and start fucking with us. And they're like, who's in there? What are you guys doing? And like, you're high, you're paranoid, right? You can't see outside of what's like, you can't see the tent, you can't see what the people look like. And it was like it totally freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah.
Too high, too high. So then like they walked away and we were like all three of us were just like this is danger. Like we
Yep.
got to go now. So we like booked it out. Like we didn't even fold the tent up. One of like somebody grabbed the pole, somebody grabbed the tent. We like ran down the mountain in the dark.
Oh, no.
So yeah, it's fine. So I think like again, safety, like knowing it's like you know, I guess knowing what to pack and like what time you should go, and should you bring a cell
For
phone and all those things. It's like all those things matter
bringing
based on
bear,
my
like
bear mace.
bear and human mace. I mean, like bear mace is
Yes.
going to work well on a human
Or
too. So this
cocaine,
or
and throw
cocaine,
it at the
right? Yeah.
bear.
I take it was a guy that was trying to fuck with you in the tent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course it was. Yeah.
It was two
Of
dudes.
course,
Yeah. How about
naturally.
you? Do you have a fun, happy
Like
memory?
one of the things that really strikes me, and I still have such a clear memory of it, is whenever I went to North Korea and we went to North Korea on a hiking trip because there's this mountain, the name of which I tried to find but I couldn't. Basically, it's just over the border on the kind of eastern side of the peninsula, and I remember like climbing that mountain. It just been a beautiful, really crisp day, and me filling my like water bottle with river water, and it being the most delicious like river water I've ever tasted. Like who knows what was in it, but
I
like
was like,
I mean again I was I think far enough away from any kind of industrial areas that it was probably okay, but like it's just such a crystal clear memory in my head. Um, I do have like I think I remember clearly getting to the top of Mount Baldy
mm,
and seeing the view and just seeing just and like because like you're 10,000 feet up there and it's like
yeah.
it's staggering how much of the US you can see from there. It was crazy, like, um, and that is such that's just seared into my head. And then like as we're leaving that, because we kind of went up one way and went down another way. You're like on this. There's like a strip. It's got to be like maybe half a meter wide, if that. Where you're like walking along, and the wind is intense, and it's like quite steep down each side of it, and you know that like one wrong kind of step and it could be quite scary. So that was just seared into my brain. But
Hmm.
yeah, a really memorable hike and a really lovely hike. I really enjoyed that. Geez, I was suffering for it afterwards, but no regrets. We didn't
Yeah.
hike the entirety of the 10,000 feet, but we parked at like 6,000 feet up. But still, 4,000 feet isn't bad for an ascent, you know?
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Did you feel it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, why am I so winded? And it's like,
Yes.
no, it's like you're hiking.
But it was a nice one. It gets another good sort of like, I've done like, I think, and I've mentioned this before, I'm sure in the podcast, over lockdown, one of the real kind of saving graces for me was that a friend organized a hiking group because it was one of the
Yeah.
things that we could do
Yeah.
under, lockdown guidelines. And it was such a lifeline to me because it was like, you know, just, you were getting outdoors, you were getting human contact, which was so rare at that time, certainly like
Mm-hmm.
in-person contact.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was also a great way to explore Northern Ireland and see places that I hadn't really seen before. We also went to the south a little bit, so it was just really wonderful. And it gave me a great, so, not only did it give me that human contact that I so sorely needed, it also, allowed me to see the country through a new lens.
Yeah. When you were like in Peru and you were like, I may never get home again. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm home. Yay. I'll appreciate a little bit more. Um, so do you have like a bucket list for hiking? Like places you would like to go?
I really want to. I mean, like, I'm doing one of them. I'm getting to the Rockies,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. That has been long on my list. I really had wanted to quite do. I mean, I don't know whether it counts as a hike, but I really had wanted to visit like Uluru in Australia.
Ayers Rock.
There's Rock, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
like
the dingo ate your
maybe
baby.
the Tingle Willie, maybe. Um, and that's kind of been on my list, but like I don't think I kind of like part of me, because I'm not really like somebody who looks at big mountains and is like I need to like do my best to get up there, but I hear that Mount Fuji is manageable if you're in decent condition, and I think if I ever was to go to Japan, I would quite like to make an effort to climb that. But
Yeah.
like like, it's interesting that like most of my hike sort of goals are like mountains or the like. But yeah,
Hmm.
I have no, that there's people that are like do like touristy kind of like Everest or whatever. I fuck all interest in those things that are there's a reasonable chance you will not make it down. I
Yeah.
don't care about that, but
Yeah.
Mount Fuji looks feasible. What about you?
I think, I've done the Olympic Peninsula.
Oh, what's that?
Um, it's like where they filmed Twilight. It's so rainy
Oh,
that it,
you mean my favorite
yeah,
movie series?
yes, your favorite movie series. Um, I just honestly, I like
I love this. Looks
I
cool.
guess like it's not, I've hiked a Teton. A lot of this I did as a kid too when we were doing like cross country road trips.
Yeah.
So I've done the Tetons, I've done the Rockies, I've been to Yellowstone, I've been to Yosemite. What I prefer, I think, is like hiking and like finding like old ruins in places and like things that are like
Okay.
not as discovered because I like pretending that I'm Indiana Jones and
Uh-huh.
like I'm gonna find, the Holy Relic or whatever. So like I think I don't know where those places are necessarily. I would like okay, no. I would like to walk on the Great Wall of China.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
And then I think I don't know. I'm not a big mountain hiker person. Uh, we had a lot of mountains where I lived in Oregon. It was like we were an hour away from Mount Hood and like 2.5 hours away from Mount St. Helens. You can climb Mount St. Helens, Mount Rainier's right there, but like summiting is just not my thing.
Yeah.
I feel like you've seen me summit. Uh, so that actually happened at once in my life, and
Yeah.
there you go.
I something and I meant to bring up earlier is I wanted to ask if you had an equivalent was that school so the schools in the UK have a thing called the Duke of Edinburgh, which is a thing to encourage kids to get outdoors, go hiking, learn skills to camp, to like cook outdoors, things like that, start fires and so on and so forth. And I was something that I kind of wanted to, I think like I remember like not being interested in sports or any of that shit. So I think I was just like, I just want to like leave me alone, let me read my books and my comics in the house, so I never like really went for it. But I kind of regretted it because like I think it might have given me more of an appetite to do that earlier, but I got there eventually. But do
Yeah.
you have an equivalent?
I mean, we do I mean we have Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts,
Yes.
but Boy Scout
Yeah,
that's
that's a whole other
mired in
thing. Yeah.
controversy. And I would say not really. Like it's
Okay.
not part of the public education system to get people involved in outdoor activities. Um, I did, I was lucky that I had a good troop leader who was less interested in, making socks into rabbits and more interested in, like taking us and teaching us how to camp and like
Yeah.
backpacking and that kind of stuff. So I did, and I had parents that were into that kind of stuff too. So we went backpacking, which I hated. And
Yeah.
um, but I do know how to start a fire outside, and I do
Nice.
know how to, in like three different ways, and like whether or not I can actually do that now,
Yeah.
if called upon, who knows? Um, but I wish that there was more of that
Yes. And I
here.
think it's
And the other thing we have is like it's like Outward Bound or whatever, so that if you get in trouble, then they ship you off to the woods for 3 months.
oh, I've heard about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's like a lot of legislation, like with Paris Hilton, because she was part of one of those programs for bad kids and like the abuse that happens and all that. So that's
Yeah.
essentially like where you go.
It sounds like one of those like alpha
It's
camps where they're like,
punishment.
yeah, they're just like training you to be an alpha, and instead you just get treated like shit for a month and are told
Yeah.
this will make a
Yeah,
man out of you, and you're like, huh?
exactly.
What? What did I get any skills there? Um, like I still think that like, I was thinking about some other places and things that I've been, and like I remember um sometimes the more popular or more famous places have like been a little bit disappointing. And like, whereas like, so one of the clear memories I have is whenever I was in North Carolina and I had the Amtrak pass for a month and I was in, where's Grand Canyon in Arizona?
It's in several
States
states.
and several states, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So wherever the main sort of
because it's
Grand,
so grand.
yes, that's true. It is very grand. It lives up to its name, everybody. But like I remember my initial view, like initially arriving at Grand Canyon and look and like see like there's like a place at the bus stops that kind of overlooks it, and the scale and the scope is kind of like staggering. Like I still have such a clear memory of a like busload of I believe Japanese tourists like arriving and all coming out, filing out of the bus, and just this wave of oh, and it just grew louder as they all kind of saw. It was just so wonderful. But I remember like seeing that, and then like everything else after that was diminishing returns of the Grand Canyon. It was like nothing quite topped that initial kind of look. But when we were also there in that similar area, or like, as I say, similar area, still like probably 2 hours, 3 hours drive away from there, the same people that took us there took us to these like more traditional sort of like red rock valleys and things like that that had old um Indian settlements and things like that, like kind of ancient Indian settlements and stuff like that. And that was like so much more fulfilling and kind of like meaningful, I found.
I totally understand. I get frustrated and completely like turned off if we show up somewhere that is well known and it's you and like 150 other
Yep.
people all trying to take the same photo of a buffalo or whatever, or like being on a trail and it's like, I'm an American, so we don't say hi to each other.
No,
So,
good
but when
God,
you're on
no.
a trail, it's like the rules are a little bit different. So you're like, hello, hello,
Yep.
hello,
It's
hello.
true.
And it's just like I just want space and like you can, there are places obviously that you can find that, but now I live in Southern California where there is no space.
True.
Like there is, when you and I did our mountain hike, uh it was like 102 out and there
Yeah,
were still people that were, on the mountain.
there were.
Um, so I really like being alone in nature
Yeah.
without,
Yeah. And it's,
much opportunity to see other people.
yeah, I like it. I think, and it's those sort of like hidden gems that you only really ever find from living somewhere a big stretch of time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Mike and we took, I don't know, we did a lot of camping in the summers and we would go drive out into the middle of fucking nowhere, Oregon. And like there was like an old basalt mine.
Okay.
Uh, and there was like a pond there that had like the warnings. There were all these like signs that are like, enter at your own risk,
Yep.
boiling water, you might die kind of stuff. And I was like, this is so great. There was no one there. And they had like a special one fish that lives in the basalt water.
Mhm.
Not basalt. No, no. What was it? There's a chemical that you used to use to wash clothes, and it
Oh, is
starts
it?
with B.
Oh, hold on.
It's okay. It's okay. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Um, I will go ask Mike. Not right now, but I'll find out because it's gonna drive me crazy. Not basalt. Basalt is a rock. He's a geologist. I know this shit. Come on, Beth.
Borax?
Um, yes, Borax Lake. Thank
Is it
you.
borax? Wow, holy crap.
Yeah, yeah. So it's Borax Lake, and there's a fish that lives in the borax,
Wow.
and it was like it's the one fish that can
Was that the stuff
survive.
that's like really kind of like the water's really kind of like it's not clear. It's pretty
Mm-hmm.
interesting. I did not know
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
anything could
Yeah.
live there. Right,
Yep.
fascinating.
Yep. A fish. A fish can. Um, I can't remember my point, but yeah, I just like discovering, I appreciate things more when they're not as well known.
Yeah, whenever they
You
kind of take
know,
you by surprise.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Yosemite was so crowded, and I was
Yeah.
just like, I gotta get out of here.
Like it is stunning, but
Nature should
you're
not be Disneyland.
it's true. It's one of the things I quite like about Joshua Tree was that like the sheer scope of that park is huge, and you will see people, but like you can absolutely, I mean, there's just such a wide swathe of things that you can visit, and it's really kind of and like you can absolutely find quiet moments there. You really can. But yeah, it's I know what you mean, and especially stuff that becomes hyper popular. It's like. I don't know. It just like really dulls. It dulls the edge of it, And there's nothing like you say. There's nothing like maybe like cresting the peak of a hill and just catching a view and being like, holy shit, you
Yeah.
know. I remember like Thailand being great for that. It's obviously well-trodden paths, but like it's not really pitched as, it's just more. I don't know. I think the appeal of Thailand, for a lot
No
of
one's
people
like,
tends to
the
be
hiking is amazing. Go for
yes.
that, right?
They're kind of like you can get drunk for
Yeah.
virtually nothing and like
Yeah.
yeah, let's party. So like that they really took me by surprise how stunning that was in a lot of places.
Hmm.
Even like I remember going through a hike in the woods and there's like a giant flower that only like bloomed for certain types of the year and like we had missed the peak. We stumbled across one of them in the woods and it was like it was dying, but it was still like an incredible thing to discover and just kind of see and kind of know that it was there. I think I've talked before. I think we've recently talked before about um whenever I was in Western Australia, and we knew that there was a river that a type of ray, a type of large ray, kind of migrated down, but we were like, well, we don't know whether it's the right time of year for it. But like seeing but going there and it's just this crystal clear water because like one of the particularly good parts about the west coast of Australia is that it's very remote and like there's not many people there and just loads of these rays just very clearly like going down into the ocean. It was just like this rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. I I really I also like having grown up where folklore is a big deal and like, using nature as medicine.
Yep.
Like that's the kind of stuff I dig too, and just like walking in the forest. And it's like if you hear this is an Appalachian thing. It's like if you hear your name like in the wind, that's like really bad, real
Yes. Oh,
bad,
really? It's
right?
okay.
And there are things that you have to do, and like just this concept that you know I don't know, spirits live in the forest or in nature, and same thing in Hawaiian culture,
Yeah.
and Tahitian culture. Uh, I just that's I mean, obviously, I love being in nature for all of those benefits, but you know, maybe there's a ghost
Yeah. Yeah.
that
I
wants to hike with me.
Hell yeah. I mean, it's always nice to have a bit of company. As long as they're a chill ghost, as long as they're
Yeah,
probably not a male ghost, right?
right, right, right.
That'd be preferable. And the other thing that I wanted to just touch on before we kind of like maybe start wrapping up was that one of the things I love, and I think that one of the things that I have really realized how much I love is I love to see the sea. Like I
Yes,
find
that's on my
that
list.
being near the sea very calming. I find that like I get a look at it every day, and like that's not
You're so
something.
lucky.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people really can't have that option, especially a lot of people in the US. Like I remember like again hearing about people who are like I didn't really see the ocean until I
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Geez, it's until they're in their 20s or whatever.
yeah.
It's nuts.
They call it being landlocked.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think it does something to your brain, but like one of the walks here, like we have, one of the most apparently beautiful coastlines. We did it whenever you were here. Beautiful coastlines
Yes.
in, I think, the UK or Europe, whatever. Whatever that means. Like, but doing hikes along there, that big hike, that marathon hike I did last year was a lot of
Mhm.
that coastline. It's just really beautiful and
It's
staggering.
it's so stunning. And I think yeah, it's so I have seen something like it ish, right? Because Oregon is very similar
Yeah,
in elevation and in the wildness of it and the stark beauty of it. But it's still Ireland has its own beauty for
yeah,
Northern Ireland has its own beauty for sure.
yes, I think so. There's something particular. It's one of the things that I love whenever I see like certain like in movies, whenever something is shot in Ireland, there's like you're like, ah, that's definitely Ireland.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
And
like,
I'll see like, photos and they'll be using it for promotions and I'm like, that's not Ireland, that's Northern
yes.
Ireland.
Yeah,
But
well
they call
also
it
true.
Ireland.
This is
Yeah.
also true. I think there's a pretty clear distinction. Like
Yeah.
it's like I think about the why have I forgot? So the Stanley Kubrick movie about the Irish guy.
I'm drawing a blank.
Okay, and like whenever I saw footage of
Stanley
that,
Kubrick made a movie about an
um,
Irish guy.
yeah, it's not one of his better. Barry Lyndon, Barry Lyndon.
Oh, I
It's
loved Barry. Oh, right, 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 right.
yeah. So Barry
Harcourt,
Lyndon, like
Harcourt.
whenever you see photos, where you see you're like, this is clearly shot in Ireland because it looks exactly like Ireland. Whereas like the one I bitched about before, whenever Sons of Anarchy did their Northern Irish season, it was like all the wide shots were clearly Ireland, and then they like stop, and it was like desert and stuff, and I'm like, there is no desert in this country. There is none. So yeah, very funny. But yeah. Um,
Uh,
any other thoughts or any other things you want to touch on or
I think
topic?
generally, like, if anyone is out there that's like, I want to hike, but I feel like I don't have hiking
Yeah,
shoes, or not to say like, obviously, dress for where you're hiking, but it's just go
yeah.
walk anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably start not small to begin with, and also but like yeah, a pair of trainers will get you out there, and like
Yeah,
just take some water and enjoy yourself.
and maybe a snack.
Yeah, maybe a snack, please. Yes, a healthy snack with energy. Yeah,
But I will say, for all the complaining I did as a child, it really did. And it has enriched my life. And I have been to some cool places and I'm excited to revisit and explore and, check shit out.
it is. Yes, it is. It's hard to beat. There's nothing that can compare, I think, to a bit of exploration.
Yeah.
Love it. All right.
It sounds like you just said expiration, but you said exploration,
Uh,
right?
maybe, maybe. I let the listener decide.
You're so dark.
I'm so dark. I love it. All right. Beth, what has been bringing you joy this week?
Salad,
Okay.
because and
Boo.
raw broccoli
You
for
can't,
reals. Isn't that sad?
it
Just
can't
like
make
eating
friends with
shit.
salad. Can't make friends with salad.
I've been able to eat it in so long without frustration. So
Oh,
that
that's
feels
true.
good. I've been kind of like checking out. I don't know if you probably didn't, but there was this podcast, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, called Serial. And it's like,
Yes.
okay,
They,
so I'm,
they, yeah.
yep. So, and they did, I think, two or three
Hmm.
seasons. The first season was so good. And I remember like walking,
Heartland.
Harper had just been born.
Uh-huh.
And I was like trying to walk around and get out of the house. And so I was just like listening to this podcast. And now I'm like, I got to get back into like a serialized podcast. So I'm
Yeah.
listening to Your Own Backyard.
Okay.
It's obviously because it's me, it's about murder and it's not a happy story, but I just appreciate that, this person is trying to solve a cold case. It's not cold case, it's still open, but
Okay.
this murder that happened in his town. So yay for serialized podcast. Also, I started Conan O'Brien Must Go last night
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
because I had watched his Kennedy Center award
I've
ceremony.
heard that's amazing. Yeah.
It's really good. So I was like, I had forgotten, and it's so fun watching everyone like make fun of a comedian that you really love.
Yes.
Um, Especially when it's being done by other comedians who like love that person. And I love me some Conan O'Brien. Like I remember The Interrupter and the Masturbating Bear, like on his earlier TV show with Andy
Hmm.
Richter. So, and like Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. So
Yes.
what he's doing in the show is he's got this podcast called Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend,
Yeah.
and he calls people all over the world. And what he's doing is he's going and he's surprising these people.
I
So he
see.
showed up in Norway, and this guy's like, "Oh my God, like what? You're here?" And he's just ridiculous. He's so, I'm just laughing the whole time. I'm like, this is so stupid.
So good. Like,
So I highly recommend if you want a good laugh, watch. And the studio is, only releasing one episode a week. Check out Conan O'Brien Must Go.
I love it. Yeah. Like,
He
I
has
mean,
no shame.
he does, and like, I think another like he does seem like a genuinely nice man who's beloved by like people, which
Yes.
is always always
A
a big
sign that
mark.
maybe humans can be
You're
good.
funny and also good human beings. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a rare combo apparently.
I know.
Um, but yes, okay, I love it. So
What
mine
about you?
is I've been playing. So there's a new, you know the video game series Doom,
Uh-huh.
right? So there's been a new Doom. It just launched last week
I
called
played
Doom.
that actually.
The first one, the original.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was a cracker. I mean, like it was such a genre defining like a video game, but still
Yes.
incredible. I think I played them all. I think I probably have. But anyway, I digress. The one came out last week called Doom: The Dark Ages, and it's kind of like if the Doom guy was like a death metal Captain America, essentially.
Cool.
You have a shield which has like chainsaw blades and stuff on it,
That's fucking
and
cool.
it's great. And it's just very satisfying. Like, I do love a first person shooter, and like this one is really intense and extremely fun. And yeah, it's really scratching that itch that I love in a video game. So yeah. So Doom the Dark Ages, everyone.
All right, there you
Bringing me
go.
joy. So yeah,
Bringing you joy. First person
first
shooter.
person shooters, right? Don't
I'm like
don't
murder podcast.
don't put us on lists, okay?
Uh-uh, uh-uh.
Because we're already on them, all right?
That's right.
Don't even worry about it. Amazing. All right, folks. Or Beth, actually, before we move on, could you like let everybody know where they can find us and
Well, you can
things?
find all about geology, birding, native plants, not at bendypodcast.com, but you can find all of our old episodes and share them with your friends. Pick and choose because there's like 80 of them at this
Lost
point
now,
because
yeah,
we're
exactly.
rocking it.
We are.
So
We're
find us
killing
at
it.
bendypodcast.com.
Smashing it out of the park.
Great.
All right, folks. In that case, as always, we'd like to remind you to
Stay
I could have
bendy.
done more about my allergies. Oh, my allergies.
Oh, boo-hoo.
All right,
Boo-hoo.